Companies everywhere are trying to solve two problems at the same time, finding great people and controlling the cost of growth. But globalization and technology have completely changed what building a team can look like. The person your business needs may not be sitting in the same city or even the same country. Today, we are going to explore how companies can access global talent, how recruiting and offshoring are evolving, what makes distributed teams successful, and where technology fits into the future of recruiting. Welcome to another edition of the Smart Office Podcast. I'm your host, Hippolyte Assa. I'm an AI implementation engineer. I help small businesses use practical AI systems to improve operations. Today, I'm excited to welcome Jamie Getgood from the People Avenue. Jamie is actually in Australia. And the People Avenue connects organizations with global talent and provides services spanning executive search, RPO, recruiting, credentialing, back office support, marketing, and dedicated offshore teams. What particularly caught my attention is their model of connecting organizations with high caliber Filipino talent while giving clients several ways to engage, from fully managed services to dedicated teams and flexible hourly support. Jamie, welcome to the Smart Office Podcast.
I'm in Adelaide, so we're in the wine region, actually. I am great. I am in Australia, so the time zone's different. I'm used to this. If we were to fly, it's about a 2.5, 3 hour flight. If I was to drive, it's about 16 to 18 hours. But it's funny because I've always had this belief that we choose our attitude no matter the circumstance. And, when we talked about, and I've been through some challenges in life, and one of those, for example, when I was at General Motors, I had to close the automotive.
One thing I found interesting about the People Avenue is that you are not simply saying, we'll find you an employee. You are essentially asking businesses, what outcome are you trying to achieve and what's the right team structure to get you there? And your company talks quite deliberately about purpose, integrity, people focus, leadership, and urgency. I'd love to understand the thinking behind that.
We're an organization that has, been alive for 2 years. So I've been in the industry for a little while longer. Prior to getting into the staffing and recruiting and offshoring industry, I was a HR guy. I used to work for General Motors in Australia. I was the head of HR for General Motors in Australia, actually, for manufacturing, and learned some very good experiences and got into the offshoring space and loved it. So we realized how good the Filipino workforce that we have was, and there was an opportunity to start our own business 2 years ago, and we did. And thankfully, some of the really good talent that we had have rejoined us, and we've picked up a lot of clients across the US. But as I mentioned, I did work at General Motors, and that was an incredible experience because it gave me this corporate background that I had been worked in for a number of years, but it gave me this global corporate business, and I learned a lot. General Motors had incredible systems and processes. So after I left General Motors, because we closed the industry, I then moved into a consulting business, ran a HR consulting business for a while. And then when COVID came in, that changed the consulting landscape. So I then had an opportunity to move across to a venture capital that was doing mergers and acquisitions and ran an offshoring business. So I got some really good experience in that space. And then 2 years ago, as a result of a change in that business, there was an opportunity for me to start my own, and I haven't looked back. We had clients across all over the world, actually, Australia and the US, that have said, hey, we love working with you, want to keep working with you. And People Avenue was born. So my experience was a little diverse because of the HR background, but it's been an incredible journey.
So, Jimmy, what is becoming harder for recruiters today? Is it finding qualified candidates, the candidates' response rate? Is the screen volume, or is it just the client acquisition? What area, or maybe it's the client expectations? What areas are really challenging for the client today?
Look, I'll give you a couple of real examples. I know we've had a couple of clients that have come to us and said, hey, we've got a team of local recruiters that are trying to fill some roles, and they've got their own retention challenges where they're losing recruiters regularly, and that's for their own internal reasons. or they're finding it difficult to source regional candidates for regional roles. There might be a number of reasons why they've got challenges. And normally what happens is because our recruiters will make, 4 times the amount of calls and are persistent and, have this beautiful personality, we often can find roles sometimes that, local recruiters have found it difficult. Now that's an unfair statement because there's some incredible local recruiters, but we've often had success. And then when you consider that, you know, we've often, our clients will come in and say, hey, can I have 3 recruiters working on this? And it costs them the same as one of the recruiters that they had. From a pure volume point of view, it helps as well. The industry in Australia for, but regardless of circumstance, I've always had a smile and realized that, you know, there is a much higher power that, can control the world. So why should I be stressing about it? And one of our values in People Avenue now is good energy. And we want to make sure that no matter what we do, we come with the right approach, the right personality, the right energy, and that flows through all of our people. So when you ask how I am, I'm always good. If not, I look at my last name and go, I'll get good. I think for us, I guess I've seen a real need for what we do. If you look at the global economic environment in many countries, and the US, Australia, UK in particular, they're probably the 3 main countries we support. Actually, Canada as well. But the economic environment is such that a number of companies are finding it really difficult. So when they're looking at maintaining the work that they need to do, but they look at hiring locally or using an agency, they go, we're struggling with the cost. And that's why offshoring can be a really good option. We have incredible people that can come in and be cost effective. And so when we started this business, we wanted to make sure not only could we support clients with good costs, but great talent. So we've have an incredible leadership team in the Philippines who we've worked with for 10 years, getting access to some incredibly talented people right across the Philippines who have incredible English, are highly skilled, they're customer service driven, and that's just the nature of the Filipinos. And they're just beautiful, beautiful people. So it became such an easy decision to get really good talent for companies because they're incredible. AI absolutely has a place and makes us more efficient. And we use AI and we use it to be more efficient in everything we do. However, a, a number of our clients still want a human talking to a human. And there is an element of you can do some screening with AI, you can do some shortlisting with AI and so forth. But at the end of the day, a number of our clients are going, yes, that's great, but we want we want that interaction. We want someone looking someone in the eye, looking at the body language, listening to how they articulate themselves, getting a feel for the person. Because, relationship is more than just words on a piece of paper. And hey, you know this as well as I do. Most candidates now, their resumes are created by AI. So one of the challenges
Today, where do things stand in terms of hiring? We've talked about different fields. I don't know. Are there any specific areas where the Filipino market is really invested in, which they specialize, where people who are listening, founders, businesses that may have, were in this field may not know that the Filipino recruiting sector is really invested, well trained and skilled in this area?
It's a difficult question, and I'll tell you why. So if I was to talk about healthcare, because we do healthcare recruiting with some of our clients, getting access to candidates can be very difficult because there's a shortage of nurses in the US, especially in regional towns. So access to candidates can be difficult. So that is one challenge. And then you've got so much competition and the bill rates are very difficult depending on where you're getting your roles to place from, whether it be a VSP or what. If I then jump across to light industrial, we don't have so much of a problem getting candidates, but it's about making sure it's more volume recruitment. So look, I think the 3 main areas that we traditionally have worked in is obviously healthcare. Filipinos are very well known for healthcare recruiting because it's very much a nurse-centric country. A lot of great Filipino nurses all around the world from the Philippines, and that has flowed through into the recruitment world where there's a lot of nurses that have become recruiters. But we've also helped a lot of light industrial and tech areas too. Probably for our business anyway, the other area that's even bigger than recruiting for us is our marketing business. So we support a lot of companies in the staffing and recruiting world, but also other industries with Filipino marketers. And as I said, we operate like a marketing agency, or we give people marketing talent for their own teams. And that is probably a bigger area for us because
Mhm.
we're finding that we have not only the cost factor as well, but we have the capability to really make a difference on candidate and client acquisition because of good marketing. And that has then resulted in us taking on board some very large clients and their social media campaigns and their
Mhm.
branding. And I'll give you a really good example. We had a company called Talent Bridge based out of North Carolina where they were a 40-year-old company and they needed a refresh. So we did a complete rebrand. We redid their website. We took on their socials and they increased in our first 12 months, we increased their followers by 100,000 people.
Wow.
All great marketing and cost effective because obviously we're because of where we're based, but our quality is outstanding.
That's good. So looking back at what you've just built, right? You've built with the people having what's one win or client success that you may particularly, I know you talked about the North Carolina case. Can you expand a little bit about that? I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit about that so that listening.
Well, look, I think there's a number. I mean, that was a really good case study with Talent Bridge because they, had grown through many industries. They were in the tech staffing space, and they really needed that refresh. They had old logo, they had old color schemes. Their marketing probably wasn't where it needed to be. And we completely transformed them. They had a brand new, fresh, modern look that fit the tech industry.
Right.
We in their website, we built in an AI recruiter, which is
Hmm.
which has been used as part of their candidate recruitment process and screening,
Hmm. Right.
but it also really highlighted the tech side of who they are. And then we built on the marketing side, a persona for that recruiter so they could actually use it as a marketing tool as well. So it's a really cool project with Talent Bridge. And we've done it with many others. I mean, there's lots of staffing firms across the US that we're actually helping that people don't know about. But we're outside of that. I mean, we've got pharmaceutical companies at the biopharma companies that we're working with.
Hmm.
We're working with some very large manufacturers. I've got a sporting client. I've got all sorts of different industries where on the marketing side, we're making a difference with offshore talent.
So, given everything you've been building or learned in the business, what are you really most focused on improving or growing right now? What's the
Yeah, look, I think the number one focus has always been for us is having a people first approach. So for me, if I can have the best culture in my own workplace and build great leaders who coach, mentor, and guide their people and engage them and bring them on the journey. If I can get the internal leadership right and an internal culture right, this is why we're getting great outcomes. So that for me has been our number one focus is the people side of things. And then secondly, having the right business structures in place, the right systems in place, using AI across the business to make us more efficient and give better service to our clients. So they're probably three quick snapshots: people, systems, and technology.
so what's preventing you from getting there, or why has it become very important, and what's preventing you from getting there faster? Just trying to figure out in terms of the business where you have challenges or trying to
Yeah,
get
look,
there.
I think, and I can be a little open and raw. My wife is incredible. She's one of the best leaders I've ever worked with. And I'm not saying that because she's my wife. I truly believe it. So I've actually had to go on my own learning journey and learn from her.
Wow.
She's worked in the entrepreneurial space for a long time, whereas I haven't. I've worked in the corporate world for a long time. And the corporate world skill set isn't necessarily the same skill set you need as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I have had to become more entrepreneurial. I've had to learn more about strategy and how to create strategy versus just going with the corporate strategy. So whilst I had some skill sets I brought across from corporate world and some systematic stuff and so forth, I definitely had to learn the entrepreneurial skills. And thankfully my wife made up for that and we've been able to balance beautifully together. But it's definitely been a learning curve for me.
Right. So Let's talk a little bit about the future technology, just like you mentioned before. Where do you see, like, you want to use AI across the board? Where do you currently seeing AI really creating genuine value in recruiting? Like, if there's any value in it at all, or if there is nothing, where do you think companies are getting it wrong? Want to see if
Look,
there's any value in it. Some people feel like, well, there's no value. Some people feel like there's genuine value, but a lot of people are thinking there's genuine value if it's used right. But given your
correct.
experience, where do you see genuine value in it?
Look, I think it absolutely has genuine value. For example, it is a great screening tool. I mean, if you're using it as an initial screening tool, it's great. And, there are more robust AI tools out there now that are no longer just looking for keywords. They're actually digging deeper into the person and who they are. So I think that has its merits. I think making sure your internal processes have the right level of workflows and efficiencies created by AI. I mean, you can get AI summaries of every call now. You can have your tasks from your mailbox automatically put up into project management tools through AI and tasks then resent to people. So you can make your whole business operate more efficiently utilizing AI. And that's, for me, really important. The challenge, I think, is how do you build consistency?
Right.
Because everyone knows AI, everyone's got AI, but you can have one recruiter here and one recruiter there doing two very different prompts and getting two very different outcomes. So we are being very focused on building the right systems and process to train our people how People Avenue do it. Because we're AI forward. We encourage and train our people with AI and how to maximize it. But we believe if we can train them with consistent messages and processes, that builds consistency in what we do as well. So AI is a great tool for efficiency and making you more efficient. It doesn't replace human creativity. And this is where I'll talk about marketing for a moment. I think I've been to multiple conferences now where the marketing world is saying it is not replacing human marketing, because those that have moved heavily towards marketing, AI marketing, have now realized that they're all starting to look the same. So there's a
Yeah.
human element that's needed.
In
So
market, yeah.
whilst we use AI for efficiency, when it comes to our marketing business, we want that human creativity. And that's why we don't want to look vanilla. We don't want to look like everyone else. We want to give you a unique brand that is you. And that's why the human element's actually super important.
Right. But if you could automate one repetitive activity across your recruiting operations tomorrow, let's say there's a repetitive activity across your recruiting operation, what would you eliminate?
What would that be? I mean, there's probably a dozen things, to be honest. It's not just one. I think,
Yeah, there's lots.
how you do candidate flows through our ATSs, and then the utilization of the candidates within the ATS and how we manage them and so forth. I reckon we could do that, even better with using AI tools within our ATS. I think different flows of how roles go through our teams and so forth. I think we could utilize AI to improve some of those processes. I think we're already on the marketing side. We're already, able to make websites far quicker than we ever used to because we're utilizing
Right.
AI. So
Right.
we are trying to improve processes every day, but probably on the recruiting side, it's probably more around making it more efficient so we can touch and reach more candidates, give them a great human experience, but then the follow through of that candidate, we can use AI to manage the process better.
Right. So 5 years from now, what do you think the best recruiting organizations will do very differently from today? Like, given where you see the trend, where things are happening, what do you think the best recruiting organizations will do?
Well, I think the best organizations will think how they onboard their people for consistency
Right.
using AI.
All right.
Again, for me, I think there is definitely always going to be a human element in the recruitment space, but how are we utilizing AI the best and then making everyone consistent? And I think that comes down to great onboarding.
Right.
And then great internal training and great mentoring and coaching as an ongoing tool. So going back to some of the old practices of, training, coaching, and mentoring will be a pivotal part in that. When it comes to the tool itself, look, I've seen so many different approaches to how people are doing MSPs and, how ATSs are being managed, and it's growing and changing every single day. So maybe there's a world where, that whole process flow has completely shrunk, and it basically is someone applies and it's straight into an interview and all the screenings are already done. And I know there's elements of that already happening now, but I think it would be far more efficient than what it is today.
Right. Yeah. I think this efficiency is certainly improving on a monthly basis, and people are trying to catch up. So, Jamie, there's so many clients out there probably listening, so many candidates listening. What would you want to share? Probably there's something we haven't touched on, what you do, the kind of clients you're looking for, and if they want to reach out, how can they reach out to you and your business, and what kind of services do you provide? Just as a summary, so that whoever
For
they're
sure.
listening to.
Well, look, I think the piece of advice, I'll start with the advice question I would give to everyone is be yourself. Don't try and be anyone else. And I think we're in a world where everyone is comparing. There's a comparison world because of the social media world we're in. But how do you then translate yourself into your resume, your CV, and in particular your interview? I really feel like that there's this interview piece that people forget. And part of what we do is we also train people in great interview techniques and using behavioral techniques, not just rocking up and how to answer a question. So
Right.
there's elements around that. So that's probably a topic for another day, but there's definitely, I guess, some learning in this virtual world of how you can actually present better. Now, we're the People Avenue. We're an offshore marketing and recruitment business. You can find us on LinkedIn. It's not hard to find the People Avenue. I think there are a couple of organizations with similar names, but we are the one with the chartreuse
Okay.
staffing. And in particular, if you're looking for me, I don't know if there's any other Jamie Getgoods. So there's a very unique last name, so I'm very easy to find.
Right. And they could get to your website, they could reach out to you.
Yes.
And for those who are listening, reach out to Jamie Getgood, and they're very much in the recruiting space. Jamie, thank you for joining me on the Smart Office podcast. I really appreciate your perspective on
No worries.
global talent, creating offshore teams, and how technology is changing the way businesses build their workforce. There's clearly an interesting future ahead for organizations that can combine great people with the right technology. So it's really been a pleasure